PCL. Hold on, right quick. Pardon me. Week 2 of PCL. Me and my good friend right here. We are officially back for our Sunday matchups. In case you guys don't know, we have 3 matchups today. As you can see, I got Marz and Pirate up here with me. Next, we have the infamous M-Tail. First from the logo, Zeezy. And then last but not least, at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we got Penn versus John D. Y'all haven't seen John D yet, but trust me, y'all going to want to tune into that one. But right now, Penn and Marz, in case you don't know, the PCL is the premier debate league when it comes to basketball. We got 16 contestants all in one league who will all be battling for one big cash prize in this belt right here that I got. But with no further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Marz, how you feeling today?
I'm chilling. I seen Noah Lyles win the 100 meters. Shout out to him.
Shout out Noah. Marz, you have a stifling opponent today. They say that this is your only competition throughout the whole thing. How do you feel about having an early test?
I think they said my only competition in the group. There's competition elsewhere, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm chilling, so yeah, I'm
okay.
Cool.
All right, yeah. Pirate, are you chill?
Yeah, I'm chill. It's gonna be fun, man. My good friend Marz here. I was hoping to meet up with him a little later on down the road, but you know, this will be fun. This will be fun.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys, I don't really need to go any more in depth. You guys know, if you know that this is going to be one of the better battles that will be in the PCL, and we're starting it off today, right here, right now. I got 3 topics for you guys. We got peak Jokic versus peak Steph, Larry Bird with athleticism versus Magic Johnson with a 3-point shot or elite defense. You never told me which one you were going to
go. Elite 3-point shot. Elite, like better than Steph 3-point shot.
Oh, yeah. Better than Steph. Okay. And then we got a 2-on-2 draft as well. When we get to the draft, you guys will see the players that these 2 guys got. And you'll see why they chose these 2 players to draft to win a championship in the next 2 years. But with no further ado, the very first topic, peak Jokic versus peak Steph. Marz, it's on you first. You muted.
I'm good. You can hear me?
All right, your time starts whenever you do, my friend.
Okay. I think the conversation has to begin offensively between both of these guys. I think that's pretty obvious. I think Jokic is probably the only player who has no weaknesses on offense. Now, I know some people are going to be thinking that I'm nitpicking because bigs and guards aren't asked to do the same thing. And I'm inclined to agree. But then I would ask you, how come Jokic as a pick-and-roll ball handler is producing 1.13 points per possession, which is more points per possession than Steph Curry was in 2016. And that's the peak that Pirate's going to be arguing for. So if guards and smalls not doing things like offensive rebounds and post up and screen isn't called a weakness, then what do we do when we have a 6'11", 280-pound big who's running pick and rolls more effectively than the point guard that Pirate is going to be debating for? What do we do when a 6'11", 280-pound big is a better decision maker and passer than the point guard that Pirate is going to be debating for? Jokic can do things that people his size shouldn't be able to do while doing the things that people his size should be able to do better than anyone does them. He's an elite post player at 1.18 points per possession. He's an elite offensive rebounder. He's an elite screener. He shot 58% on 2-point jump shots over the last 3 years. He's elite in the restricted area at 72%. That's only behind Giannis and AD. He's elite in the paint outside the restricted area, showcasing some of the best touch we've ever seen. He's at 66% in that area, which is number 1 in the league. He does this while shooting 38% on wide open threes and 36% on catch and shoot threes. We've never seen a player with no flaws offensively. Whatever you ask him to do on offense, he can do it at an elite level. That hasn't been true for any player you want to think of, whether that's Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Steph Curry, LeBron James, whoever you want. None of them were flawless like Jokic is.
All right, Pirate, it's on you. Marz just kicked it off. You got a chance. Round 1. Hold on, right quick, Pirate, right quick. All right, your time starts when you do.
All right, well, yeah, we're definitely talking about 2 great players for sure. I think you just got to tip your cap to Steph, considering the supreme impact, the way he was able to absolutely revolutionize the game and really become the prototype of his position. He's got the great handles along with efficiency from everywhere on the floor. The ability to bomb it from literally anywhere is a combination of skills that other guards have touched on. but no one has put together quite like Steph. And the impact is clear. The unheard of efficiency and volume from a guard, the complete skewing of the defense, the gravity, the positive effect he has on every teammate on the floor, leading to multiple 67-plus win seasons with a variety of rosters, 73 wins, multiple championships, tremendous positive effect on every player he plays with, highlighted by leading offenses at the top of virtually every category, including in terms of layups and dunks, despite not having exceptional inside presence, mainly due to his gravity. You're talking about the only guard on the all-time list for effective field goal percentage, the highest scorer on the EFG list, the only unanimous MVP, winning rings with Harrison Barnes or KD or Wiggins, winning 140 regular season games with rosters that nobody would consider all-time without Steph. So I think the impact on the team is just far greater.
Marz, it is back on you for round 2. Your time starts when you do.
As we all know, 2016 Steph is rightfully regarded as one of the best offensive regular seasons we've ever seen. He led the league in scoring volume at 31 points per 75. The next closest was Kevin Durant at 29. He also led the league in scoring efficiency at plus 12.8 relative true shooting. The second in the league again was Kevin Durant at plus 9.2. I don't need to explain how number 1 and number 2 in both those categories teaming up was crazy. We all understand that. But what I don't understand is how over the last 3 years, Jokic is at 27.7 points per 75 on plus 9.7 relative true shooting, and that's just been ignored. The only players to ever put up 25 on plus 9.5 relative true shooting over a 3-year stretch are Jokic, Curry, KD, LeBron, Kareem, and Charles Barkley. That scoring also travels to the playoffs for Jokic, where he's 28 points per 75 on plus 7. The only players to put up 28 on plus 7 over a 3-year stretch with at least a large sample of games, 35 games in the playoffs, are Jokic, Curry, KD, and LeBron. Now, you tell me, of all of those players that were on both of those lists, why is only one of them left out of all-time great scoring conversations? I don't get it, but maybe you can explain it to me. Now, also tell me, of all of those players that were on both lists, how many of them are also all-time great passers? Because I can tell you the only ones who can say that are Jokic and LeBron James. Nikola Jokic is doing things at an unseen level before offensively, and he's so good at other things that we ignore how great of a scorer he has been. Steph's biggest claim to this conversation is how good of a scorer and shooter he has been. Jokic is putting up numbers similar to Steph as a scorer while eclipsing him as a playmaker and passer.
All right, that was fire, Marz. Pirate, you're shaking your head like you don't agree with something. So let's hear what you don't agree with.
I'm just disappointed because Marz is flatly lying to the people. He's being disingenuous, and he absolutely knows it. Marz over here is the king of the air attacks formula, and yet he's refusing to use the air attacks formula here, and you know exactly why. It's because Marz is fully aware that the last 8 years in the NBA have been the 8 most efficient years in the history of the league. So to simply rattle off Joker's efficiency without context is a total con, and he knows it, because Marz also knows that Steph, relative to the league, has reached efficiency far greater than Joker, in excess of 125 plus, which is far higher than anything Joker has done. Marz also knows that a point guard shooting higher volumes at higher efficiency is exponentially more production than a center at lower efficiency. He knows all of that is true. He has hidden it on purpose, and if he is honest, he would admit it. Real efficiency is being the only guard and the highest scorer on the top 20 all-time EFG list. That's real efficiency. Real efficiency is sinking 400 threes at over 45%, most off the dribble, scoring 30 plus a game, 45% on pull-ups, 35% in the paint from a guard. That's real efficiency. Steph changed the game. He made the impossible possible. He is hands down the greatest shooter of all time.
Okay. Hey, y'all cooking now. Y'all cooking. Marz, round 3. Let's see it. Let's hear it. Let's do it.
I didn't want to do Pyro like this because he just lied to you. I did use relative to error. That's why I said relative true shooting. When I said Steph was plus 12.8, that was relative to the league average. That's what relative true shooting is. When I said points per 75, that was adjusted for inflation. That's what scoring volume is. It's inflation adjusted points. I used relative to error. The issue is, even relative to error, Jokic's numbers stack up. So he lied to you guys and you guys fell for it. Every stat I've used has been relative to the time. That's why I said relative true shooting. But back to the point I wanted to say, Jokic is one of the most versatile offensive weapons we've ever seen. He's maybe the most efficient post player we've ever seen. He's constantly moving without the ball. He's traveling 1.27 miles per game on offense. For context, Steph Curry was traveling 1.33 miles per game on offense in 2016, and he's one of the best off-ball movers of all time, and rightfully so. But these aren't wasted movements by Jokic. He's sprinting into DHOs. He's flashing to the middle of the floor. He's setting hard picks. He's sealing. He's getting deep post steals. He's moving all over the court at 6'11", 280 pounds to make sure his team can constantly create advantages. He's one of the best passers we've ever seen, who leads the league in touches every single year, but we've never seen a player who's able to dominate offense without dominating the ball. That's the difference about Nikola Jokic. He does everything on offense, but his time of possession is only 4.5 minutes. Even Steph Curry was approaching 6 minutes in time of possession, and he's one of the least ball dominant superstars we've ever seen. Jokic is doing things that no one has ever done. He has an impact on everything on offense without dominating the ball, and he's more efficient than anyone who's possibly ever done it. Jokic is the better peak.
Woo! Pirate, talk to us.
They're both great players. He's
wait. Start over, Pirate. Start over. You got it.
All right, look, Joker is a great player. They're both great players. All right, can you hear me? All right. Joker is a great player. They're both great players. He's put up great numbers, and he's led teams. He's great, but all those numbers have not had the same impact on creating great teamwork or team success. Joker has never won 60 games. He's only won a few more playoff games than he's lost. Joker takes on a lot of responsibility, and bless him for it. He's a great passer, real good scorer. But Marz he's skewing the numbers because Joker gets between 100 and 120 touches a game, where Steph is getting 70 to 80. All right, the ball runs through Joker. So frankly, he had better get huge numbers just to simply keep them competitive. And he does. But as far as team production, it has not led to the all-time team production which Steph's impact has. That's just a fact. Steph revolutionized his position and dominated in an era that many would say is the golden age of his position. Now, Joker, he's a great player, but many people would point to him and say that he's played in an era that's fairly weak for his position. And I think there are fair questions as to exactly what extent Joker gets the benefit of being in the right place, right time, where Steph's skill set is prototypical for a point guard. I would argue he's clearly timeless. His game transfers better, and the record shows that he's just had a far greater impact on the game of basketball.
Okay. Now we need to see who had a far greater impact on swaying the fans with their argument, the stats, the case behind the stats, and their aura as well. You see, it's a minute and 30 seconds right now. You guys get over to the polls and go vote. Exercise your vote. All right. Exercise your vote. Let us know, who do you guys believe out of these two had the most compelling argument for peak Jokic and peak Steph? This is the heavyweight match between Marz and Pirates. You guys just seen that first round. That was one of the better rounds that we've had so far in the PCL. Maybe the best. But it's two more to go. Next round, we have Larry Bird with athleticism versus Magic Johnson with elite three-point shooting. So we'll get into that in a second. The poll is up. Make sure you go vote. Like the video as well and subscribe. Welcome to the PCL. We're happy to have you guys here. There's no better place on earth to be than right here. Also, just to put this filler out there, if you're watching, but it's not live, you can still get your vote in. Your vote still matters. All votes matter. We will tally all the votes at the end of the 4-week regular season. And then we'll use that to choose who wins each match. So if you think Marz won this, but he loses the live vote, it's okay. Because at the end of week 4, we will go in, tally it up. And if Marz has more votes than Pirate, then he'll win. If Pirate has more votes than Marz, he'll win. Simple as that. All right, fellas. We got 5 seconds left. And it looks like Marz is taking the live vote with 59% of the votes. Shout out to Marz. You got 57% actually, 57 to 42. Shout out to Marz. You took the first round. We're moving on to the next round, or the next topic, if you will. And that is Larry Bird with athleticism versus Magic Johnson with elite 3-point shooting. Marz, you went first last round. So Pirate, it is on you to kick it off this round. Your time starts when you do, my friend.
All righty. All right. So, yeah, both of these mythical players would probably be the GOAT. And no hypothetical numbers can verify anything in any way. But let's be crystal clear. There is no question elite 3-point shooting aids Magic Johnson much more than athleticism aids Larry Bird. So remember the premise. We're talking Magic with elite 3-point shooting. How beautiful would it be to see Steph's long balls coming out of Magic? Half court, full court, come on. It's obviously the best player ever. Magic already had a better transition game than Bruce Jenner without long balls. And that was with him just looking at the hole. Just imagine if how different history would be if in critical situations, Magic was able to stop himself and pull all the way out. How different would history be then? Now let's look at the half court. Magic was already one of the most efficient guards in history. He knew his way around the post better than anyone, could score on anyone. And that was when he was just touching you up down low. But now you've got Magic draining his long balls all over you night after night. That is deadly. There is no defense for that. You'd have to lock him up in the closet and never let him come out. If Magic ever did come out of the closet, say bye-bye, he'd be so dangerous that the NBA would have to be testing him daily to see what's in his blood.
That was a good round, Pirate. Marz, it's your turn to follow that up. Cat got your tongue?
The answer is Larry Bird, because of the implications it would have on Larry Bird's defense. Larry Bird was already a strong positive on defense during his prime years, and that was for every reason that wasn't athleticism. In my opinion, you need probably 4 main things to be an elite defender: effort, IQ, size, and athleticism. Larry Bird had 3 out of 4. He had an insanely high motor. He was consistently not giving up on plays. He was taking charges. He was chasing loose balls. He was boxing out. He was fighting for rebounds. And he also was very smart. He was extremely knowledgeable on rotations and where to be. He would often get in there early and blow up plays, or he would dig up ball handlers and post plays and force turnovers. He was an excellent helper at the nail and in gaps, and he was even willing to try and slide over and provide rim protection. But that is where I believe you would see where the biggest discrepancy would be if he was an elite athlete. Although his 6'9" frame did help him in rim protection, could you imagine if he was actually able to contest vertically more so than just trying to target the ball down low? Imagine Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kyle Anderson sliding over from the weak side. Even if both of them are on time, one of them is just going to get a better contest because they are more vertically explosive. So I think if Bird was able to defend vertically alongside the processing speed he had on defense, that would elevate his already pretty good defense. He made 3 All defensive teams, which I think were mostly warranted. And then put that on top of the fact that on the perimeter is where he would see the biggest upgrade. His biggest flaw defensively was his ability to stay in front of quick attackers. Now, if you give Larry Bird quick lateral movement and hip mobility, his ability to stay in front of guys, he elevates to a level defensively that maybe you haven't seen from many wings. With that level of IQ, motor, and athleticism, he might be in top tier defensive categories.
All right, Pirate, it's back to you. Round 2. Talk to us.
All right, yeah. I mean, once again, I've just got to remind everyone, this is pure fantasy. There are no actual answers, but let's be real. No matter how athletic Bird gets, he's still just going to be athletic for a white guy. So we're not talking about Michael Jordan here. We're talking about Brent Barry. But Magic with a 3-ball? Now, hell, you were already terrified of Magic attacking the hole. You were already mortified at the idea of getting backdoored by Magic. Now you also have to worry about Magic spraying it in your face from all corners of the room. I mean, just stop and think for one moment about how dangerous it would really be if Magic could put it in the hole from anywhere. Nobody in NBA history can touch that Johnson. If Magic is allowed to take you down low and spray it in your face, you are a goner. There is no protection for that. You are completely unprotected. So on defense, there's really no answer. Magic will catch you with your pants down. He will blow you up, and he will punish your ass night after night after night. So don't get it twisted. Magic has seen every D imaginable. There's literally no D Magic doesn't welcome with open arms. Magic with a 3 is going to be thrilled to toy with any D you put in front of him, poking, prodding, until he turns you upside down, inside out, and shoves it down your throat until you choke. Magic the GOAT.
Marz, I don't know how you want to take that, but you got to take it some way. It's on you.
I spoke about defense, so I'm going to speak about offense. Larry Bird was as close to a flawless offensive player as you could find in the 80s, but if he did have one weakness, it was probably his lack of explosion and ability to finish without finesse around the rim. He was one of the most skilled scorers we've ever seen, but a lot of that was out of necessity. He was supremely skilled shooter, as everyone knows, 90% from the free throw line, 40% from three, all of those things. But one issue with Bird was he struggled to finish in traffic, and he was often resorting to these finesse finishes, flip shots around the basket, instead of being able to play through contact and finish above the rim. But if Larry Bird had a lightning first step and was able to finish above the rim, that just elevates his offensive game to another level. Larry Bird's pump fake was deadly because obviously he was the best shooter in the league at the time. His ability to get you with a pump fake and now get all the way downhill would add a whole nother dimension to his game. Before, when Larry Bird would pump fake, he'd have to take a mid-range pull-up, which was still deadly. But now if he's able to get all the way to the basket before help is able to arrive, that elevates his scoring much, much more than anything else ever could have. So one of his biggest weaknesses can now become one of his biggest strengths. And also, not only that, but when you think about Larry Bird in transition, he was an excellent outlet passer and he was excellent at running lanes and spotting up for jump shots. If you add the third dimension of transition play from outlet passes like Jokic to shooting on the perimeter like Dirk Nowitzki, you now add filling lanes like Dr. J and Giannis, Larry Bird becomes the best offensive player we've ever seen. He can pass the ball just as well as anyone. He can shoot the ball just as well as anyone. And now he's finishing at the rim and playing in transition just as well as anyone. Larry Bird becomes the first flawless basketball player we've ever seen.
All right, Pirate, round 3. Talk to us.
All right, so to be clear, we're making Bird more athletic. He is not becoming any more skilled. Dribbling, passing, footwork, that's all the same. But we are talking about improving Magic's game exponentially. You thought Magic was sending dudes to the clinic before? Now Magic is sending dudes to the morgue. But what can you do? You have to consider how much more deadly Magic's penetration is now that he's got long balls. If you keep your distance, he's going to shoot it right between your eyes. But if you engage, now he's pounding the rim. He's either pounding the rim or the best assist guy ever, he's spreading it around to other guys. He's spreading it to this guy over here. He's giving it to that guy over there. Magic invites every guy to the party. He makes sure every man gets a taste. So every man is satisfied and goes hard for him night in, night out until it's finished. Make no mistake, every guy gets off when Magic's around. Magic's a true leader. He passionately loves the game, and he loves sharing his love with his guys. Magic injects all of his guys with positivity. It's pretty clear that his gaiety is absolutely infectious. So, to be clear, this is a completely imaginary question with no actual answers whatsoever. But I have to honestly ask you, chat, are you not entertained?
Chat, talk to us. Pirate, that was 3 rounds of speechlessness. Marz, you get to wrap things up. Nothing intended, no pun intended. Go ahead, do your thing.
I'm gonna just read some numbers because that's what I do. 3.1, 37.7%, 2.1, 33.7%, 2.3, 38.6%, 2.5, 34.5%, 3.1, 36.1%, 3.3, 35.8%, 2.4, 42.3%, that's Larry Bird, 3.0, 40%, 4.6, 36.7%, 6.1, 35.6%, 5.5, 36.6%, and 8.5, 29.6%. Now I just spent 25 seconds reading a bunch of numbers. Those numbers are the league leaders in three-point attempts each year of Magic Johnson's career from 80 to 91. If we want to say Magic Johnson's going to shoot like Steph, 11 threes a game on 45% shooting, then yes, Magic Johnson has a chance. But if we're going to be honest about the realities of the 1980s, no players are shooting above 4 threes a game until Michael Adams and that Denver team is running a run and gun is running a run and gun offense I've never seen before. None of the leaders in 3-point volume were top 5 in percentage either, by the way. The only one who did that was Larry Bird, who did it twice. Shout out to Larry Bird. 3-point shooters just didn't make that much of an impact in the 80s. So it would be ridiculous for us to say Magic doubling his volume is going to make that much of a difference. Magic shooting 40% on 5 threes a game is great, but Magic giving you 6 points isn't going to make up the difference that Larry Bird is giving you on both sides of the basketball. He's exponentially better on defense, and he's exponentially better on offense. Magic will still be a bad defender. He still won't shoot a bunch of threes just because no one in the era did. All we've done now is say Magic Johnson shoots the three as well as Larry Bird already did. Larry Bird is the only one who was top 5 in volume and 3-point percentage in any of those years. All we're doing is equalizing the shooting playing field.
Run the poll right now. Chat, y'all know the drill. All 400 of you that's in here right now, get over there and vote. Who won? We had Marz choosing Larry Bird with athleticism. And then we had Pirate choosing Magic Johnson with a long ball. Choose. Go ahead. Let us know. Who do you guys think won? That was pretty entertaining, right, Marz? Pirate, you had fun? All right.
Marz.
Say that again, Pirate.
I said I had fun. I was asking, Marz have fun with that one?
That was a good time.
Shout out to you, man. Shout out to you, man.
All right. Well, we got 45 more seconds for you guys to get your votes in. While we doing that, let me shout out King Julian. He became a member during the PCL. Appreciate you, Julian. I hope you're having a good time. I hope you're enjoying this as much as everybody else is enjoying Pirates. Great delivery. Nicola gotcha bitch. Nicola, saying that right?
That's one of Jokic's teammates. Yeah.
Okay. Shout out Nicola gotcha bitch. He said, shout out PCL. I'm locked into this. Appreciate you for tapping in. Gotcha bitch. FIFA boy said, I can't take Pirates serious. ... And last but not least, Tyrone Flawless Wiggins said, long balls coming out of Magic. Pirate is egregiously incredulous right now.
I want to see when that goes on TikTok.
The votes just wrapped up. Marz, you got bigger problems than TikTok right now because Pirates taking that round home, baby. We are tied up right now 1-1, but it's just because of the
It's good to see the world still has a sense of humor in these tragic times.
Remember, people, the live vote isn't the end-all, be-all, but right now with the live vote, Marz has won the first round, Pirates run the second round, or the first topic and the second topic. Now we move on to the third topic, which is a 2-on-2 player draft. These guys both chose 2 players. They had to draft to start a team with. So to build a team around these 2 players to win a championship for the next 2 seasons. Pirates, you started off first round or last round. Marz, it's on you to kick us off this round.
Wait, but Ron.
Yes.
There may be some bias in the chat because people may think that I have an unfair group of teammates, but we should make it clear that Marz chose this situation because we had a multi-day dispute over the previous topic. So I got it.
It is what it is at this point. You got your 2 players.
It is what
Marz got his 2 players. Hey, may the best debater win. Marz, you got a minute and 30 whenever you're ready.
I'm gonna just tell everyone, Pirate has Luka and Giannis, and I have Jason Tatum and Kevin Durant. But I think for a 2-year window, I believe 2 things are mandatory: versatility and health. I think it's obvious why those are important because for a 2-year window, you need to be comfortable with as many assortment of complementary pieces as possible. You don't want to be in a situation where you have some bad role players and you lose half your time because they don't fit with your stars. So I think Jason Tatum and KD may be the 2 most versatile players in the league right now. Both can initiate offense. Both have positional size at 6'10" and 7 feet. Both can switch across the board, and both have played time at the small ball 5. They can play a variety of coverages and roles on defense, whether that's being the big man defender in the pick and roll, whether that's providing nail help side rim protection, you name it, they can do it. They're both mobile and they have the length to make rotations on closeout. KD's 7 foot with a 7'5" wingspan. Jason Tatum 6'10" with a 6'11" wingspan. They both can provide rim protection and play up and down positions. KD allows a negative 7.4 defensive field goal percentage at the rim. That's elite. Jason Tatum's at negative 0.4 for himself too. They both can play off the ball. They're both shooting 43% on catch and shoots. KD shoots 56% wide open. They both average 1.5 points per possession on cuts. They can play on the ball. Both of them average 1.1 points per possession in pick and roll. They can both close defensive possessions as rebounders. Jason Tatum averages 7 defensive rebounds. KD averages 6. They both fit next to interior and stretch bigs. This means no matter the assortment of lineup I have around them, they are going to fit. I'm going to maximize the value they bring me no matter who I put around them. They can play in any sort of lineup. They give me scheme versatility, offensive versatility. They can play with and without the ball. There's no lineup where I don't get maximum value from either.
Got it. Marz coming out swinging, making a compelling case from the beginning. Pirate, it's round 1 for you. Tell us about the 2 players you chose.
I mean, that was a pretty good attempt to turn a turd into a meatloaf sandwich, but I mean, let's be real. Durant and Tatum are great players, but as far as building a championship roster in 2025, they don't hold a candle to Luka and Giannis. As far as 2 players in possession of so many diverse skills that reach such a height of production that are different enough to cover all bases while also playing off each other so well, Luka and Giannis are the perfect duo. Any numbers are just going to tell us what we already know. Luka and Giannis simply do more things better. If we just look at last year, Luka and Giannis, 66 points to 54, 21 rebounds to 15, 17 assists to 10. Luka and Giannis are more efficient on higher volume, and let's not even get into VORP. Luka and Giannis were 2nd and 3rd in VORP. Durant and Tatum were 10th and 14th. So what are we even talking about? On one hand, we've got a guard-forward combo that does more things better versus 2 lanky wings that honestly do a lot of the same things with a lot of redundancy. Luka and Giannis, 2 greats who do absolutely everything from different spots. You got the half-court king and the transition king. You got the Greek god dominating both ends in the paint. The Wonder Kid scoring, distributing from anywhere on the floor. Both of them getting rebounds. You got the perfect pick-and-roll combo. You got the perfect lob tandem. The talent, production, fit, it's A+. Better than not just Durant and Tatum, but virtually any tandem you could think of in an...
Sorry, Pirate, I gotta mute you because your time is up. Marz, it's on you, round 2. Talk to us about your guys.
The first round I spoke about versatility. The second round I'm going to speak about health. Obviously, when you only have 2 years, you don't want to lose one of them to a postseason injury. Thankfully, KD hasn't missed a postseason game in 5 years, and Jason Tatum never has. Giannis in the last 5 years has gone through a whole postseason without missing a game or being hurt once. That was the 21-22 season. In 1920 against Miami, he was out with an ankle injury, missed the closeout game, played only 11 minutes in the game prior, and got hurt in game 3. 60% of the series, Giannis was hurt. In 2021, he missed 2 games due to a hyperextended knee. The Bucks winning does not change the fact that in a 2-year window, I don't want to see my guy get hurt and potentially cost me a series. A player of Giannis's caliber, that's a cause for concern. In 2023, he missed 2 games out of a 5-game series and only played 11 minutes in the other. Another time where he missed 60% of his team's postseason. And then this year, he didn't play 1 second in the postseason. And also, I don't think a team can overcome a guy like Giannis being consistently unavailable. This also applies to Luka, who just this past postseason was affected by injuries that saw a decline in his play. Now, did he play terribly? No, but this was 1 year where his rim attempts decreased in the postseason, and his efficiency for the first time in his postseason career was negative relative to the opponent's defenses. Now, Luka played great, but do I think I can overcome a guy like Luka not playing up to his regular season standard and potentially not having Giannis at all? Maybe, but I'd rather not take that risk and have guys who I know are going to be available in the postseason, just like Kevin Durant and Jason Tatum have shown they can be for the last 5 years. I don't want to risk losing half of my time because Giannis is unavailable or because Luka is compromised. So I'm going to go with the healthier options.
All right, there you have it. Round 2, Pirate. Your time will start whenever you start.
All right. I mean, again, Durant and Tatum, great players. But it's funny. Marz brings up versatility with Luka and Giannis in 2025. You have 2 greater players with far more diverse abilities, able to not only play off each other much better, but also maximize whatever other 3 guys you were going to put on the floor with them much better. KD and Tatum, they're great, but let's be honest, there is a lot of redundancy there. In the grand scheme, they're very similar. They do a lot of the same things. Now, if you're going to have redundancy, a couple all-purpose wings, that's not the worst option. But if you're talking about optimum, if you think about it, Luka and Giannis allow literally any player in the league to step in and thrive. Any player, any combination of players. Jamal Murray or Alex Caruso, Brandon Ingram or Jaden McDaniels, DeAndre Ayton, literally any player can step on the floor and do their thing because these two are so good at so much. The world is simply their oyster, and any player you add instantly becomes a pearl. You don't need another ball handler guard, but it'll fit. You don't need another great scorer, but that'll fit. You can literally go in any direction. A couple of guards, a wing, a big, a couple wings. You have the ball handling. You have every skill virtually already covered, and so they're going to maximize any lineup you put them in.
Round 3 of topic 3, Marz. Let's hear it.
As we know, Luke is a heliocentric superstar with a time of possession routinely in the top 2 in the NBA. Most heliocentric systems are pretty stagnant off the ball and often rely on one guy to create the large portion of a team's advantages. Most of these advantages with Luka are created out of pick and roll, isolation, or post-ups. That's 35 possessions a game this year, by the way. Giannis does not fit seamlessly in these type of systems, as was outlined by his fit with Damian Lillard, who's historically one of the most ball-dominant pick-and-roll isolation-heavy guards ever. He was averaging 27.5 possessions of such his year in Portland. Giannis and Dame struggled to create synergy in a pick-and-roll because Giannis often set in screens to set up his own scoring, which means he would often avoid contact or slip those screens in favor of setting up his drive from the outside. This would in turn not free up his guard off those screens, and it's a big part of the reason why Dame, his best pick-and-roll synergy came with Brook Lopez. So although Luka is a better player than Dame, he does use the pick and roll similarly. And his need for a roll man in pick and roll, as outlined by Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively in Dallas, a big reason why they get so many lobs. Giannis only rolls 1.9 times a game as a pick and roll player. That's very rare. So if he's not doing that for Luka, their synergy is a bit off. Giannis' reluctance to set hard screens and roll will obviously take away some of Luka's pick and roll wizardry and not maximize him. This also goes on defense, where Luka's defensive liabilities, let's say, don't maximize Giannis' power as a roamer. We've seen in the finals or in the playoffs where Luka's getting blown by. If Giannis doesn't have elite point of attack defense, his power of aroma gets negated somewhat. So these guys don't complement each other perfectly, whereas Jason Tatum and KD don't run into any matchup problems or where they get in each other's way. These guys don't complement each other seamlessly.
Yeah, that accent cooking right now, boy. Hey, that accent hot right now. Pirate, you got your last round of the day. Let's hear it, my man.
Lillard ain't Luka, and Tatum couldn't even get on the floor in the Olympics because their games don't mesh perfectly. They're very similar players, and we can't ignore that the question is who is going to be in best position to win a ring in the next 2 years. So we can't ignore that KD's age has to be some kind of factor. It just has to. KD will be almost 37 next playoffs, and he's going to be almost 38 years old the playoffs after that. And he is a great player. I don't even need to go down the route that he'll be done or he'll be washed, but it would be insane not to acknowledge that if we're talking about a finals run 2 years from now, one of these names is obviously not like the others. While the other three should be in peak prime form, KD will clearly most likely be well on the other side of the hill. And again, the redundancy with KD and Tatum, it just means it's harder to build around. They simply have a lower floor and a lower ceiling than Luka and Giannis. You need more things. And you don't have as many options to fill in the gaps, where you can pretty easily slot Luka in anywhere from 1 to 3 and Giannis anywhere from 3 to 5. KD and Tatum are pretty much your 3 and 4. Another wing would doubtfully thrive in that lineup. You're going to need some guards. You're going to need a big. So, I mean, Luka and Giannis, they're just better players head to head. They're better players as a tandem. They're in their prime. It's obvious.
Run those polls right now. Y'all get over there. Make sure you go vote. This is the PCL on Players' Choice, the best debate league on the planet with some of the best debaters on the planet. And these are 2 of the better guys out of the 16 that are in the PCL. You're not going to get a better matchup than Marz and Pirate. This was a championship caliber match, right? Right, fellas?
Yeah, I think so.
It was good. It was solid.
It was some angles that were taken that I didn't know that weren't going to be taken. Like you guys took us on a wild roller coaster, and I know you guys enjoyed it a lot, chat. I know you enjoyed it. The poll is up right now. Make sure you go vote. Remember, to everybody that's watching and everybody that's watching while it's not live, all of your votes matter. Please, please, I beg of you, I urge you to go exercise your vote and let us know, who do you think won. If you think Pirate swept, say I got Pirate 3-0. If you think Marz won 2-1, just say Marz 2-1, and that will count towards the overall vote. The voting does not end until week 4 ends. So we still got a couple more weeks to get the votes in. And the same goes for last week too. PCL week 1. If you haven't went back and watched those videos, go back and watch those videos so you can get your vote in too. All right, we got about 15 seconds left, so we will be wrapping this up here in a second. And it's very close. It's very close. Might we have our first tiebreaker? All right. All right. Might we have our first? All right. The poll is in, and it looks like Marz edged out Pirate barely with 51% of the votes. There you have it. Remember,
we'll get him in the comments.
This is just the live vote. Remember, it's not the end all be all. You guys go and vote. Fellas, I appreciate you guys for coming up here and giving us this entertaining ass battle. Y'all really came and held it down.
Time for my nap.
And I think this belt, I might only have this for a couple more weeks because I think one of you guys is gonna get this. Personally, I think.
Get your fingers off my
crazy.
belt, Ron.
You have people coming up next, Ron. You can't say that. You're meant to be impartial.
Let me wipe this off, Pirate. My bad. All right. I will see you guys very soon. Pirate, it was good to see you, my friend.
It's good to see you, Ron. It was great to see Marz again.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
You two guys don't think too much about Johnsons tonight. I'll see y'all later. All right. Yo, that was crazy. Yo, that was crazy. All right, but we about to get into this next round. You guys make sure to like the video, subscribe, and send through some super chats too, so we can have some good fan interaction in the meantime. But we're gonna go on a quick break, and we will be back in a second.
Kentucky woman, she gets to know you, she goes to own you. Kentucky woman, she gets to know you, she goes to own you. Kentucky woman, she gets to know you, she goes to own you. Kentucky woman, she gets to know you, she goes to own you.
All right, y'all, here we go. The second matchup of the PCL today on Sunday. And this is week 2 of the PCL too. If you didn't tap into the first week, go check out those battles because you're missing out on some real good stuff. But here we are right now. I got my man MTail and I got Zeezy. We about to really get into this. I hope you guys are ready. This is what everything is for. Like they say, it's for all the marbles. This is the marbles right here. And $1,000 cash prize. So y'all be sure to tap in and vote because we need the real winner of this thing to really get that $1,000 in this PCL belt. But with no further ado, Let me go ahead and bring these guys up here. The next contestants for the next battle. I got my man, Zeezy Honcho in the house. What's going on? You muted, Zeezy.
Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? How's everybody doing? What's good, Ron?
What's up? What's up? How you feeling?
We good, man. It's PCL Sunday. Let's go.
Okay, you seen that last battle?
Yeah.
Who won that?
I don't know what the hell happened in the second topic. I don't know what was going on there. I pulled up to the live and I was like, what are we talking about right now? But I think it was still a good one. It was still a good one.
Okay. Let me get my man MTL up here. MTL, what's up, man? What's the business?
What's up, y'all? How do I sound?
You good? You good?
Oh, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
No, they can't hear me. Okay.
Nah. We
All
can hear
right.
you.
I wanted to make sure.
Cool.
Because if not, I was gonna turn my headphones off. What's good with y'all?
What's up? All right, fellas, we're going to go ahead and get into it. We got 3 topics today, 3 primetime topics. We got Steve Nash versus Jason Kidd. Who's the better point guard? And then we got the greatest dynasty. Which of these dynasties is greater? We got the 60s Celtics or the 90s Bulls. Which team had a greater dynasty? And then last but not least, we have 2 players that these guys have to make a case for being the GOATs. And I'm not going to say their name yet, but stick around and you'll see. If you were watching on the bottom, maybe you've seen it. But we got topic 1, Steve Nash versus Jason Kidd. MTL, we are going to start with you. So your time starts whenever you start.
All right. Yeah, I shouldn't have closed on that book. But all right. So first thing we're gonna say, I have Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd was a 2-way playmaking Iron Man, honestly. Steve Nash was like a 3-point playmaker. And if we know in NBA history, 3-point playmakers have never been outside of Steph. You can't really name too many that's been a lead guard that has led their team to winning championships, which the same can be said about Steve Nash as a point guard. Is that to say that Steve Nash is bad? No, that's not saying Steve Nash is bad. But was he on the same level as a lead guard as J Kidd? I don't think so. I think players with J Kidd's style of play have a higher ceiling than a player with Steve Nash ceiling outside of Steph Curry, like I said. Not Steve Nash, sorry. J Kidd was a better winner. He did more earlier. He did more for a greater period of time, in my opinion. And I just think Steve Nash got a little overrated at a certain point in his career when you just start looking at the assist numbers. You started looking at, 50, 40, 90. But if you really break it down more, you start finding out there's a lot about that was really overrated. And probably is the reason why a lot of people feel like his MVPs were stolen in a sense. I'm not going to say that about him, but that is the narrative that's been out there. And that's kind of why I actually think his best year that he had was the year after the back-to-back MVPs that he won. Crazily enough. That's how I'm going to start.
All right, that was fire, MTL. Yo, MTL, is there any way you can switch your mic? If you can, do that. If not, then we'll have to deal with, what you got. But while he's fixing that, ZZ, it's on you, my man. Go ahead and rebuttal.
So for me, this was a tough one. I love both these point guards, but when I think about what I need in an ideal point guard, I think Steve Nash provides me a lot of that value that you really look for when you break it down. You're talking about what do you look for in an ideal point guard? Efficiency, playmaking, decision-making, all of those things. And for Steve Nash, people talk about how the 7 seconds or less Phoenix Suns were revolutionary ahead of their time. That's true, but you want to know who else was revolutionary and ahead of their time? Steve Nash. This was a guy that could pass the ball like Magic Johnson, but like Steph Curry. Throughout the 2000s, in the early 2000s, there was not a point guard in the league that you could name that was a better shooter than Steve Nash. And the only knock against Steve Nash's career, especially when it comes to those MVP years, when you really look back on it, is that he didn't shoot the ball more. That was the only knock. That's the biggest thing when you look back at those Phoenix Suns years. But I'm not even going to get into those. I'm going to save that for round 2. When I look at Steve Nash before he got back to Phoenix, when he was in Dallas, right? He got to Dallas at the same time as Dirk Nowitzki. And it took them about a couple of years to really get things rolling until they got Michael Finley there to solidify that big three. And when that happened, the Dallas Mavericks had the #1 offense in the league for 3 straight years. The only thing that got them from missing the finals or missing the finals was defense, rebounding, and certain unlucky situations. And then when we get to those MVP years that you talk about that a lot of people like to overrate, it's one thing to say you don't think Steve Nash was the best player in the league, but it's a whole different thing to say that you think that he didn't deserve to be in the MVP conversations when he turned around a 29-win Phoenix Suns team the year prior to him getting there. But we'll save that.
All right. Zeezy's going to save it, but as of right now, MTL, we need to hear what you got. Round 2. Talk to us.
All right. So I never said one time that that he wasn't in the MVP conversation, that he wasn't good enough to be in the talks. Never one time said that. I won't say that. But what I'm saying is they both were players that were top 10 in considerations 8 times. I just think that J Kidd's style of play is just better for your team if you want to be better long term. Yes, Steve Nash did a lot in his career, but J Kidd was always just a better winner. Everything about his play style, even going past just him playing, but I'm gonna stick to him playing. He was in MVP voting since his rookie year. That's crazy. He had considerations for that as a rookie. He was a part of 3 different championships teams. Yes, he won 1, but he was on 3 different teams. That's 3 more than Steve Nash has ever seen in his career. Steve Nash was a generational player in terms of playing just his style of play. Like, they played a very fun style, but it was never a winning style of basketball that they were really playing. Jason Kidd just always put teams just in a better spot. The fact that he played with Dirk too and then won with Dirk and then Nash couldn't do it, I think that says a lot. If you ask me, just his impact of being on a team put them to the levels that we didn't even think they was going to be able to do. We honestly just thought that Heat team was going to honestly probably sweep them. A lot of us thought it was probably a wash, but the impact of him just being on that team was very big for the success they got, and honestly, that's why.
Zeezy, topic 1, round 2. Your time starts when you do.
So you brought up how Jason Kidd won with Dirk Nowitzki as a 37-year-old role player who still did his part, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't the same Jason Kidd that was leading the Nets to the NBA Finals in 2002 and in 2003. And when you talk about him being able to lead teams to bigger success or what have you, was that more predicated to the fact that he played in different conferences, whereas Steve Nash played in the Western Conference his entire career? When we talk about Steve Nash's MVPs, you talked about how Jason Kidd was in the MVP conversation. Steve Nash was winning MVPs, not just in the conversations. In 2005, he turned that Phoenix Suns team from a 29-win team in 2004 to the #1 seed in the Western Conference. And then in 2006, with Amari Stoudemire only playing 3 games on the year and expectations for the Suns to be nothing, he still manages to lead them to the 2nd best record in the Western Conference. And when you really look at Steve Nash's, when I talked about his 50, 40, 90 seasons, for his career, he shoots 49% from the field, he shoots 50, 40, 90 almost for his entire career. When you look at Jason Kidd, he shoots 40% from the field and 39% from the field in the postseason. And when you really look at 2006 to 2010, Steve Nash almost went every single year shooting 50, 40, 90. There are 10 players in NBA history to say that they've been able to shoot 50, 40, 90. 2 of those come from Kevin Durant. 2 of those come from Larry Bird. 4 of them come from Steve Nash alone. So when you talk about efficiency along with point guard ability, that's Steve Nash to the T.
All right, MTL. Round 3. We need you to talk to us.
All right. So we're talking about 50-49 season. If you really break down the 50-49 season that you're talking about, he came from being an 88% free throw shooter to next year he got to 92. Cool, I guess. You know what also happened in that same season? This was his 2nd MVP, by the way. He actually had less assists and more turnovers. I think that's an interesting take. He scored more points because he was shooting the ball more. He shot about 7 times more that season. And he still only scored about 4 to 5 more points than what he was doing the year before, while having more turnovers and getting less assists. And people getting so excited about he had a few more percentages towards his free throw shooting to put it into the 50-49. That's cool. But again, like I said, I feel like that's more like a mirage to look over his career to just be like, oh, oh, peak efficiency that didn't win. I about to say you can say that same thing happened for Curry, but Curry took that and became a more impactful version of that. And I'm sorry, Steve Nash he had a ceiling to how good he could be. And although yes, he did win 2 MVPs, there was a lot of conversation around those. And honestly, I think just the fact that they got too wrapped up into that 50-40-90 thing. People tend to get too wrapped up into some type of weird narrative as to why they give MVPs. And I think just doing that, not acknowledging that his best season honestly was the year right after he won back to back is crazy to me. And I just think kid had it.
All right, Zeezy. One last round on this topic. Talk to us.
So I know you brought up turnovers, which is interesting because when you look at Jason Kidd, he played about 18 years, Steve Nash about 17, and they both averaged the same amount of turnovers per game for their careers and in the postseason. And you can honestly make the arguments fully for Steve Nash being the better playoff performer. The first time that Jason Kidd averaged about 20 points at least per game in a postseason was in 2002. He shot 42% from the field and 19% from three. Coincidentally, the first time that Steve Nash also averaged 20 points in a playoff series was in 2002, where he put up 20 points, six assists, and 3 rebounds on 43, 44, 97 splits. So what you really want in an ideal point guard, you get from Steve Nash. Everything else is all about building around that player. So if Steve Nash was playing with those great defensive Nets teams in the Eastern Conference, if they flipped, you don't think Steve Nash would also walk straight to the NBA Finals, shooting it at a much better clip than Jason Kidd, surrounded by great defenders? I think so. And when you really look at it and you break down both of these guys' careers, because they played damn near the same exact amount of time, the only difference was Jason Kidd was drafted in 94 and Steve Nash was drafted in 96. When you look at it, they played almost the same amount of years, and Steve Nash played in a tougher conference every single year for his career in comparison to Jason Kidd. He's the overall more efficient player. They both averaged the same amount of turnovers. So when you really look at it, you could say that he turned the ball over a lot, but Jason Kidd was shooting the ball like prime Russell Westbrook on the Los Angeles Lakers. So it's a two-way street, but I'm going to go Nash for the efficiency.
All right, you guys heard it first here. We're about to run the poll so you guys can go run the votes up. We had Steve Nash, first Jason Kidd. Simple. Who is the better point guard? Go ahead, exercise your vote. We got it live right now, so we're going to be paying attention to it. In the meantime, while you guys are going over and voting, like I know you are, I want to tell everybody to like the video, comment, subscribe, become a member. You guys know the drill. I tell you this every day on the panel and every PCL match as well. But I also want to take a special time out right now to show some homage to our Hall of Famers. All of our Hall of Fame inductees, I got to show them some love. I got my man Kendall Daniels. I got Multi Kenny. I got Cobra Son of Raditz. And then I got the GOAT Hall of Famer of them all, Dorian Clayton. So shout out to them. Big ups to you guys. You guys really hold it down for us. And I appreciate you guys for everything that you do. All right, y'all. We got about 30 more seconds left. Get over there and vote. And while you guys are doing that, the next topic that we have for this battle is the Celtics in the 60s versus the Bulls in the 90s. Which team had a greater dynasty? Now, this isn't who had the better team. This is who had the better dynasty. So I'm gonna let these fellas get into their bag and tell us exactly what is what. MTL, you started the first one. So Zeezy, you are gonna start the second topic. It's on you, but hold on just a second before you do that. The polls are almost in. It's almost in, and Zeezy takes round one in the live votes with 57% of the votes.
Okay.
All right, let's get into topic 2, round 1. Zeezy, the time will start whenever you do.
Look, I know when I first got this question, I think my initial thought was to go Celtics, but then I sat back and I thought about it, and I was like, well, in the last couple of years, I've heard NBA discourse say, we done with the 90s. Well, if we done with the 90s, what the hell are we doing with the 60s? I mean, we're talking about the 60 Celtics. In 1960, there was about 8 teams in the league. There was 8 teams. From 1961 to 1966, there were 9 teams in the league. So for me, the biggest difference between both of these dynasties and what makes one better is the parity amongst the league, not just with teams themselves, but also players. When you look at 1960 and 1961, the Celtics went up against the St. Louis Hawks back-to-back years, if I'm not mistaken. Throughout the 60s, it was either the Celtics, the St. Louis Hawks, or the Lakers that was in the finals. When you look at the Bulls from 91, they played the Lakers. 92, the Trailblazers. 93, the Suns. That's parity. What you got was passing of the torch from the elder statesmen of Magic Johnson to Michael Jordan. You got a good Portland team, Clyde Drexler, Terry Porter, right? Danny Ainge, Jerome Kersey. Then you got a 93 Suns team with the MVP Charles Barkley, right? Danny Ainge again, Kevin Duckworth, and the crew. And what you had was a situation where you didn't know who was going to come out of the West, but you relatively knew that the Bulls were there and ready to stay. And so for me, when I look at that and I bottle all of that up, the parity amongst the league in the 90s was at parity that wasn't even remotely close in the 60s. You had the Celtics winning championships at the expense of less than 10 teams compared to the Bulls winning championships at the expense of about 27 max. So I'll go with the Bulls.
Dub parody. MTEL, it's on you. Round 1. Talk to us.
All right. So I'm glad that you actually gave me the 60 Celtics in this conversation, only because, yes, the conversation we're done with the 90s, but that really just means anything 90s and back. So really, this is 2 canceled teams. So that logic doesn't really work to me. The Celtics was more dominant for longer. 9 years out of a 10-year stretch, 9 years out of a possible 10, they won the championship. The only time they didn't win, really, injuries, if we want to be honest. But even, I'm using the 60s. Obviously, the wins went back to before the 60s. That's the crazy part. They were so good that there really was no competition. Yes, you could say it's the same circle of teams, but listen, there's less teams. So that means that all of the better talent is going to the better teams. The Bulls came up in a time where it's just like, all right, cool. Yeah, they were great. They had a 3-peat. Jordan went away. What happened to him for a little bit of time? Yeah, he came back and they won again, but you left a what if in the air. The Celtics didn't give you no what if. It was just dominance. Bill Russell came in and they never looked back. They just won. They won, and then he lost 2 times. He had 2 years where he didn't win the championship. Every other year that he was there, they won. And that went back to before the 60s. We're talking about a team that literally you just like, you see it for a whole decade of basketball. We just was like, bro, we might as well just skip to the next decade. They were just that good. They were way more dominant.
All right. Zeezy is back on you. It's your time to rebuttal. Time starts when you do.
So let's talk about that second half. I know you said we don't want to talk about what ifs because, Michael Jordan retired or went away for gambling purposes or however you want to call it to play baseball. But when he got back, let's really talk about what happened. I mean, the Chicago Bulls in 1995, 1996 went 72-10. That is second all-time winning percentage in the regular season. The following year, they went 69-15, which is tied for third highest winning percentage in regular season history. That's something that the Celtics were not doing, even though there were 8 teams for them to really work, or 7 other teams for them to really go up against. And so when I look at that second three-peat and I compare it to the first one, it leads me even more questions. You had a 62-20, I think, Supersonics team led by Gary Payton and Sean Kemp. And when you really look at it, outside of that, it was back-to-back years with the Jazz, of course, but you had an MVP Karl Malone at one point and the best point guard in the league at that time in John Stockton. So the level of competition that the Bulls had to go through and also changing up their dynasty along the way. You got to think, at the first half of the decade, it was Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Phil Jackson, right? B.J. Armstrong, John Paxson, I think Bill Cartwright or whatever. And then Horace Grant. How could I forget? And then in the second half, what they were able to do was, because they lost some of those role players, they were able to replace them, replacing John Paxson with Steve Kerr, replacing Horace Grant with Dennis Rodman, right? Going to go get Tony Kukoc, giving yourself a threat off the bench from the EuroLeague that nobody's really talking about. And then what you had was more and more wins, even than what they got in 91 through 93.
MTEL, it is round 3. We need you to rebuttal and talk to us, my man. Make your closing compelling case.
Round 3 or round 2? Or point?
It's round 2 for you. Round 2 for you. Yeah, it's round 2 for you.
Okay, yeah. All right, just want to make sure. All right. So yes, you talked about the two sets of teams here. Yes, they had two different three-peats. We already went over that. The Celtics literally had more wins during their three-peat in that same span of time. We talking about a 10-year span. The Celtics won more in a 10-year span than the Bulls did, and it was in a row. The Bulls won 3 in a row. They won 6. They won 7 actually. They won 7 in a row before they saw a loss. And yes, Jordan played in a interesting time period because outside of just pure greatness and stuff, he also played in an expansion era. We were adding new teams. Y'all know I like the Magic. We were one of the teams that got added during this time. The Heat was one of the teams that got added during this time. And you know what they do during expansion times. That means there was better teams that lost some of their better core players for their team. So that honestly made the road easier. I think it's interesting at the time when Jordan started winning more was also the time when Larry Bird was going out the league, when he was basically on the backside of his career, when the bad boy Pistons was on the backsides of their careers. He couldn't beat them when they were in their primes. You know, the Bulls team couldn't beat them when they were in their primes. And then I just think it's ironic that expansion happens right after that, and then they start winning. I think all of that played a part. Plus, Jordan being going for the time that he was going played a part. Whether you want to say it was good or a bad thing, that was rest. You know how long a NBA season is. A lot of things could have been put in the air. I just think there's too much unknown to say that the Bulls were better.
All right, here we go. This is the last round of this topic. Zeezy, finish it out.
So you talked about how the expansion teams makes you wonder how good the Bulls really were and the fact that they beat teams when they were on the back end of their career. Isaiah Thomas was what, 30, 31 when Jordan and them swept them. So when I really think about it and I look back, the one question that I have is the impact on the game as a whole, not just the game on the whole as a whole, but the world. When we think about the 90s Bulls, that was an impactful franchise and organization, an influential franchise and organization that bled out to even 90s pop culture. The funny part is Bill Russell was winning championships and still getting called racial slurs by his home fans, which is crazy because that just shows you how wild the world was back then. But even leading up to his jersey retirement, he had a private jersey retirement because he didn't want any Boston fans in attendance. He didn't even have an influential impact on his community despite winning 7 straight championships in the 60s, albeit against teams that albeit against a league that had less than 10 teams, but it is what it is. So for me, when I look at the Bulls, their impact spanned not just across the league, but across the world. So you can talk about how they knocked teams off at the end or they didn't beat Bird in their prime. Of course, because it was Michael Jordan and crackheads. But yet Michael Jordan was still able to drop 60 points plus on the number 1 team in the league, that Celtics team, to the point where after the game, despite them winning, Larry Bird looks at Michael Jordan and calls him God in disguise as a basketball player. So the influence not only bleeds through Michael Jordan, but the Bulls team as a whole for their decade. They were appreciated and celebrated as such.
Yes, sir, Zeezy. MTL, it's your last round. Follow this up with something special, my guy.
Right. I'm glad that you brought up the time period that Bill Russell played in. He played in an era where, like you said, he was hated. The whole time he was winning, he was being hated by his home crowd. You have to think about the extra challenge that is to win like that. To think of, you're waking up every day as a black man trying to be like, dang, I got to play in front of these people that don't even like me because of my skin color. Think about that. He had to fight through that where Jordan really had all the praise going in. He had all the people wanting him to be good. Even he basically was getting the treatment that Luka gets today as a player, where it's just everybody wants him to be the best. So we're going to, I'm not going to say pull strings for him, but we're definitely going to favor him in some type of way. Bill Russell, the 60 Celtics, they didn't get that type of favoritism. It was actually the exact opposite. So for all them outside factors to play a part and for them to still win on the level that they did, knowing that they were never wanted to win because of the situations that was in front of them, the fact that they won more times than the Jordan Bulls did throughout the same process, the fact that he was just purely more dominant. He even had to guard one of the players that we know is Mr. Myth and Wilt Chamberlain, the dude that we're talking about literally dropped 100 points in the game and hasn't been done ever since. We're talking about a dude who had a season where he averaged 50 points. He could stop him. That guy couldn't beat him. Think about that. A dude who was getting like 30 rebounds and 50 points a game. He stopped that guy. Jordan never had to play against a dude who did anything close to as crazy as that as a statistical performance. And he was stopping that dude routinely. That dude couldn't match up.
Sorry, MTEL. I had to mute you. I had to mute you, my man. Your time is up. But I heard some compelling cases. I heard a good debate. I think we had a good one, people. I think it was. The polls are about to go up right now, and you guys talk to us. Let us know who you believe won this first matchup. The Celtics in the 60s versus the Bulls in the 90s. Who had the greatest dynasty between the two? The polls are running. You guys get over there and vote. Once again, I have to let you guys know, as I always do, the live vote isn't the end all be all. If you aren't watching live, still get in your vote. Let us know simply who you think won the debate. MTEL swept, Zeezy 2-1. Whatever you put, it will get tallied into the overall votes of this very matchup right here, along with the other ones as well. And at the end of week 4 of the PCL, we will tally those, and those votes will go to determine who actually won the battle. And ultimately, that will determine the seeding for the playoffs. And so, as I pick up this belt, to let you guys know once again what's at stake. Oh, it looked like MTEL getting MTEL, that's where the belt belongs? Right there on your right shoulder?
Hey man, we're gonna find out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so all the marbles are for this belt and also for a cash prize as well. So it is a lot that's going into this right now, but we got about 10 more seconds. So I need you guys to go get in your last second votes, and then we're going to move on to topic 2.
Topic 3, Ron.
Topic 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
L
3.
host.
Yeah. Topic 3. All right, the vote is in, and it looks like Zeezy is going to take this one
Okay.
with a percentage of, wait for it to come through, 57% of the votes, Zeezy. Shout out to Zeezy. All right, y'all. That is the first 2 rounds. Let's get on to topic 3. And with topic 3, I need both of you guys to make a compelling case, not just a case, a compelling case for this player being the GOAT. We have Shaq and we have Kobe. I want to hear your case on why this player can be the greatest of all time. Y'all ready?
Yep.
MTEL, it's on you to kick us off. Let's do it.
Okay, so when you think of dominance, who's one of the first players that come to mind? For a lot of us like me, it's Shaquille O'Neal. When you think about Shaquille O'Neal, you think about the most dominant force in NBA history. I really can't think of a center, in my personal opinion, that I actually think is better than Shaq. Yes, you can find ones who have all these career statistics that you could say maybe makes them better, but a lot of that comes down to situation. In Shaq's situation, he was just great. The fact that he limited a piece of his game and still played in a way where he could win as much as he did and he could dominate as much as he did while not even using his full percentage of his game tells me how great of a player he actually was. We're comparing him to Kobe. Shaq literally was an MVP vote since his rookie year. 13 years in a row, he was in MVP conversations. He was in top 10 considerations for I want to say 12. Yeah. 12 of those 13 times he was top 10 considerations for MVP. Where to Kobe? Kobe had 11. Shaq was just dominant since day one. It took Kobe at least 4 years to at least get in the realm of that level, and then 5 years to actually get into that level as a top 10 MVP vote getter. And that took until Shaq got on the team. Shaq literally helped Kobe to become the player that he became. And Shaq was always great at knowing when he needed to put his foot on the gas, when he needed to take his foot off the gas. And he really helped to hardwire Kobe to be the player that he grew into.
All right, Zeezy, round 1. Talk to us.
So for me, the first thing that came to mind when I saw this question was Kobe, because I used to tell my friends all the time when Kobe retired. He retired with 2 Hall of Fame careers and 2 different jersey numbers. Only player in NBA history, if I'm not mistaken, to get both 2 different jersey numbers retired for the same exact organization. And when he was wearing number 8, he gave you 16,866 points. 8 All-Star appearances and 3 titles. In number 24, he gave you 16,178 points, 9 All-Stars, 2 titles, 2 Finals MVPs, 3 trips to the finals straight, and an MVP. So when I think about that, and I think about also the influence on the game as a whole, Kobe in China was damn near as famous as Michael Jackson anywhere overseas, with that much love and appreciation that he got from over there. So when I look at that, I think to myself, on top of the fact that he's a narrative killer for the entirety of his career. There was a lot of different points in Kobe's career where he had to kill some sort of narrative. One narrative in particular that people like to use is that Shaq carried Kobe throughout the first three-peat. Even though when you look at 2000 to 2002, Kobe gave you 28, 6, and 6 a game in that stretch. And if it wasn't for Kobe throughout the playoffs, the Lakers might not have even made it to the finals for Shaq to go up against Rick Smits and Dale Davis and the crew and Dikembe Mutombo, right? And then Kenyon Martin and the crew. So if it wasn't for Kobe getting them to the finals, Shaq probably wouldn't have been able to dominate as much as he did. So it's Kobe for me.
All right, MTL. What's your rebuttal to that?
Okay, so first, I'm not going to hit you with the, Shaq carried. No, you need a team to be able to win. I'm not saying Shaq carried, but he was the better player the whole time that he was on the team with Kobe. The only time you started thinking that Kobe was better was towards the end of Shaq's career, around the time when he was about to, get traded, around the time that he got moved to other teams. And even then, it's still like the fact that every year prior to that, he was just better. And like there's no question about it. It took Kobe a good minute to become great. Shaq was great out of the gate, being great since basically when you started being in the league, and then just stretching out to almost your whole career. I think that's just more of an accomplishment than what Kobe did. Kobe became great. Shaq started great. I think that is a complete difference between them two as players. His only real weakness was really just stalling him. All you could do was stall Shaq. They had extra dudes put on the bench, literally just to come in and just foul Shaq. That was the only way they could think to stop him. To the point where the NBA had to make new rules to find ways to stop Shaq. They had to make new rules to be like, all right, okay, we can't just let the fouling thing just happen all again, because it was making the games take too long. We had all these rules put in place. Literally, they had to change the league for Shaq. That's how dominant he was. There was no real stopping him. It was just, he's just great. And yes, he dominated other great players. I don't know. I'll get to that on my next point.
All right. Zeezy, talk to us.
So for me, yes, Shaquille O'Neal dominated other players, and yes, you can make the argument that he was the better player at the time. But when I look at Kobe Bryant during that time, you're talking about a 21 to 23-year-old Kobe playing second fiddle to the most dominant force in the league. And when you look at the 01 playoffs, for example, I could talk about the 2000 playoffs, but the only thing I really talk about is that Game 7 Western Conference Finals that everybody remembers Kobe throwing the lob to Shaq. But what they don't remember was the Lakers being down 13 to 15 points going into the fourth quarter, and Kobe ended up finishing the game outscoring and out-rebounding Shaquille O'Neal in a pivotal Game 7 to get them to the finals. But it is what it is. In the 2001 playoffs, Kobe averaged 29 a game, 7 rebounds, 6 assists on 47% shooting. In the second round, when they swept the Sacramento Kings, he averaged 35 a game, right? And then you get to the Western Conference Finals against the number 1 seeded San Antonio Spurs. Kobe averaged another 30 piece against them in 4 straight games. So you could make a legitimate argument that Kobe was the best player on the floor for 2 straight playoff series leading up to the 2002 NBA or 2001 NBA Finals. So when I look at that, I say Kobe was just as good and just as deadly as a second option as he was as a first option. Kobe might be one of the only players in the all-time list, a consistent top 10, where you can say that during his prime, he was surrounded by scrubs, literally. And it wasn't until 2007, 2008, once they brought in Pau Gasol, Lamar Odom, and the crew, and Kobe Bryant was able to really take heed of being the number 1 option and teach Pau how to play his part, that led to them winning 2 championships out of a 3-year stretch at the end of the 2000s.
Talk to us, Zeezy. I heard you loud and clear. MTL, it is your chance to respond back to that. You have one more time.
Yes, sir. All right. So every time Shaq was given a dual guard that was great, he's literally went to the finals 3 different times in his career, 3 different teams. To me, being able to be great on multiple teams, knowing that your whole roster is different, knowing everything about the situation is different. You don't know how the front office is going to be. You don't know how the supporters is going to be. You don't know how the media is going to be towards you. You don't know how the refs is going to be towards you. All of that was changing for Shaq, and he still found a way to go to the finals on 3 different organizations, and he's won a championship on 2 of those. Yes, Kobe has 1 more championship than him, but Shaq on the same team as Kobe had 3 finals MVPs to Kobe's 2 that he had once Shaq was off of the team. I think just in that alone, that statement right there is already enough to tell you that Shaq was the better player just from starting right there. Yes, you can say the leading up there, you can say that about every type of game. They need a big shot ball to win them a game before. So if we want to just be like, well, who won this game off of this shot? We can start going down the team and just start pulling up players that hit a game winner. That doesn't really necessarily matter to me. Yes, Shaq was just more dominant. He went to the finals with 3 different teams, and in his younger era, he actually beat one of the players that we consider to be the possible GOAT today, in Michael Jordan. He beat his team while they were in their prime. Kobe has never done or beat anything close to that. He beat the Jordan Bulls to go to the finals before. I think that tells you all you need to know.
All right, ZZ. Last round of the battle. Talk to us.
So for me, that last point that you had made about Kobe not doing anything to equate that, what Shaq did was beat a Michael Jordan that had just got back from that little gambling addiction. So the very next year, once the Chicago Bulls re-upped and got Dennis Rodman, because they did not sweep them when they had Dennis Rodman on the team, the Bulls actually swept the Magic. So it is what it is. But the third thing for me, one of the things that you brought up about Shaq, you said he didn't have a lot of weaknesses outside of something, but the one thing that you left out was his mentality. The biggest weakness for Shaquille O'Neal is the fact that we couldn't see that dominance be sustained for a longer period of time. At the end of the day, the biggest source of their beef between Kobe and Shaq was Shaq winning championships and finals MVPs, like you said, and then going to go pick up a donut instead of a dumbbell. That was Kobe's biggest beef with this man. The fact that Kobe was able to play 20 years and the fact that he was able to see 2 different variations of a Phil Jackson-led Lakers team should tell you that who really needed who more, Kobe or Shaq. Like I mentioned before, if it wasn't for Kobe's dominance throughout the playoffs leading up to those championships in the early years, Shaq wouldn't have been able to average 35 plus a game against bum centers besides Dikembe Mutombo. And then when you look at him in his latter half of his year, they get Pau Gasol on the team. That was their version of Shaquille O'Neal. And Kobe had to work that man to get him to say, hey, look, you got to be able to go toe-to-toe with Kevin Garnett in the paint. You got to be able to go toe-to-toe with prime Dwight Howard in the paint while I go ahead and cook, playing through injuries and shit and winning back-to-back finals MVPs. So for me, it's Kobe.
All right, y'all. There you have it. This was definitely one of the better topics to me that we've had. Make a case for these guys being the GOAT. You know, we all love Shaq. We all love Kobe. And so now these guys got to really express why they believe that these two are 2 of the best of all time. You guys heard the arguments. I'm going to put a chat on the screen from my man Prada Fiend. He said something that all of you guys need to take into account before you vote. He said, I'm voting for the argument, not what I think of the topic. You guys, once again, this is a debate. This is not a popularity contest. This is not you voting off emotion. This is not you voting off who had the better topics. Sometimes the topics may lean in favor of somebody, but if the other person makes a better debate, you need to vote for them. So vote on who you believe is making the most compelling case based on stats, based on eye tests, based on facts, based on them breaking down what actually happened. Sometimes based on who's more entertaining. Sometimes just based on aura as well. All of that stuff. Put all of that in a bottle, shake it up, and go with that. All right. As of right now, we are a minute in about 40 seconds, or in about 15 seconds into this poll. So y'all go ahead and use the remaining 15 seconds to vote on who you believe won this. As of right now, it looks like Zeezy is up yet again. You guys go ahead. Get those votes in. We got about 5 more seconds. All right, fellas. Y'all talk to me. How you feeling right now?
To be fair, I'm not gonna lie. All three things, when I thought about it later, I said I chose the harder person to debate every single time. Like every single topic, I chose the harder topic. I thought about that later, but it's okay.
Yeah, these were some hard topics. I ain't gonna lie. Like the Steve Nash and Jason Kidd one was the one for me. I was like, bro,
Yeah,
because I've always said Kidd was underrated, but damn.
yeah, I like both.
All
of
right,
them,
fellas.
too.
That was a dope ass debate. I appreciate y'all for coming up, throwing hands, and doing what you do best. We will catch you guys again next week. Let me see who. Let me move ahead and see who you guys got. So next week, Zeezy has Pirate, and next week it looks like you have a bye, MTL. You do have a bye.
Word. Let's
So
go.
we'll catch you week 4, MTL. Zeezy, you and Pirate next week. Can't wait to see it.
Yes, sir. Good to see y'all.
All right,
All right,
fellas.
thank
Love you,
y'all.
chat.
All right, y'all. We have one more battle today between the Great Pen and the wild card John D. We'll get to see them guys next, but I got a quick commercial break for y'all, and then we'll be right back.
Kentucky woman, she gets to know you. She goes to own you. Kentucky woman, she gets to know you. She goes to own you. Kentucky woman, she gets to know you. She goes to own you. Kentucky woman, she gets to know you. She goes to own you.
What's up, y'all? Y'all ready? Are y'all ready for debate 3 of the day? Before we get into that, my man Penn got a message for you guys before he even comes on stage. It's simple. He said, all right, hit the like button, y'all. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and become a member. And if you're having choice or having like a trouble choosing which membership to join, just go with the highest one. Become a Hall of Famer. But with no further ado, let's go ahead and get into this third battle. I'm excited for this one because it contains somebody that you guys have yet to see yet. And he goes by the name of John D. What's going on, man? What's up?
How you doing? How you doing?
I'm cool. How you living?
I'm good. I'm ready to go.
The people ain't seen you on the stage yet, man. You ready?
100% ready.
Okay.
100% ready.
You got a tough opponent today.
I know.
Okay.
I like it like this, though. I like it like this.
Okay. Penn, what's up?
What's going on, man?
What's good? You ready to rock and roll?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, this belt is at stake in $1,000, and you guys get to get it in right now. John D, this is your first opportunity at getting a win in the column to be first place. So let's go ahead and make it happen. We got 3 topics today, so let's go ahead and get into them. The 3 topics that we have for Penn versus John D is the 2019 Raptors versus the 2020 Lakers. Who wins in a 7-game series? Then we got the 2020 Spurs as a dynasty versus the Showtime Lakers. Which of these dynasties was more impressive? And then last but not least, we got who had the greater MVP season? 2011 Derrick Rose versus 2017 Russell Westbrook. Those are the 3 topics that we're rocking with today. And we're going to get into it. First, we're going to start with the 2019 Raptors versus the 2020 Lakers. And so, Penn, we are going to start with you first. The time starts whenever you do.
Okay, let's talk about this roster. I think some of y'all might have selective amnesia because you don't remember that you had a future all-star coming off the bench in Fred VanVleet, a future max player, current Nick, OG Anunoby, coming off the bench. You had a 3-time all-defense, Serge Ibaka, still very much in his prime, coming off the bench. And you had a future 6th man of the year contender in Norman Powell, coming off the bench. Look at the depths. The depth matters in the playoffs when you start facing injuries. I didn't even talk about the starters. We got the ultimate 3-and-D prototype, Danny Green, Green Ranger, 3 championships with 3 different teams, always as a starter. You got a future Hall of Famer in Kyle Lowry, probably one of the most underrated players of all time, starting at point guard, 6-time All-Star. You got future 2-time All-NBA, Pascal Siakam. Still, I mean, we're talking next year, he was All-NBA. He was right there. He's good. I don't think the Lakers can stop all that. I didn't even talk about Marc Gasol, Defensive Player of the Year, Marc Gasol. I think Akon wrote Locked Up about Marc Gasol's defense on Joel Embiid, pretty much retroactively in hindsight. He saw the future of what was happening for Joel Embiid. You're gonna score on this team? This entire team was defensive. Notice I haven't mentioned Kawhi Leonard once because this was a team. Now we talk about Kawhi Leonard, the baddest man on the planet. He came in and he owned LA, right? Y'all remember the commercial? Y'all remember that commercial? New Balance, you remember the commercial? Kawhi Leonard was a 2-time Finals MVP, and he got this shit on lock. 2 seconds to spare.
I'm locked up. John D, round 1. Take us away.
Okay, so I like how you brought in the depth of the 2019 Toronto Raptors. The Lakers actually played more players throughout that playoff run than the Toronto Raptors did. The Lakers played 9, the Toronto Raptors played 8. The Lakers are beating out the Toronto Raptors in playoff stats in points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, blocks per game, field goal percentage, and 3-point percentage. And I love the Kawhi Leonard defensive talk. And Kawhi Leonard was amazing in that playoff run. He averaged 30 points per game. Pascal Siakam averaged 19. Kyle Lowry averaged 15. But are you really going to tell me that Kawhi Leonard is going to average 30 points per game and guard potentially the greatest player of all time, and then leave Anthony Davis to Serge Ibaka game in and game out? That is a tough series to win. LeBron James in the playoffs averaged 28 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists. That's very hard to stop. On top of Anthony Davis averaging 28 points and 10 rebounds on 60% from the field. Once again, very hard to stop. And we know how LeBron James loves to play with floor spacers. He loves to play with floor spacers. So let's talk about some of the shooters that were around him. Danny Green, Kyle Kuzma, KCP, Markieff Morris, even Rajon Rondo was shooting 40% from the 3. Anthony Davis was shooting 38% from the 3. You cannot help off of anybody. So LeBron James in space, good luck. Good luck. And then you have Anthony Davis, who was considered a top 5 player in the league at the moment. I mean, look at LeBron's nickname, LeBronto. One of the greatest playoff performers of all time. It's hard to beat him.
John just came through with a curveball. Pin, how do you feel about this?
I like how you didn't mention bubble. All right. I don't know what John D stands for. I don't know what the D stands for. It doesn't stand for debate. Maybe it stands for decimated. Maybe it stands for something else. All right. I'm glad you brought up the competition. All right. 4 teams that the Raptors faced. I want to let y'all know that there were 4 teams prior to the season that were favored to win the championship. It was the Toronto Raptors at number 4, Philadelphia at number 3, Milwaukee Bucks at number 2, and the Dynasty Warriors at number 1. The Raptors had to go through every one of those teams to win that championship. So I don't know what you're talking about. You lost me at Rajon Rondo. I'll live with Rajon Rondo threes all day. There's a reason he shot 40% because he ain't no one within 50 feet of that guy guarding him. Who did the bubble Lakers face? Oh, right. I forgot. They faced a 31-year-old James Harden, a 30-year-old James Harden, a 31-year-old Russell Westbrook. Who were the rest of their teammates? Robert Covington, PJ Washington. Compared the second rounds, you know who the Raptors faced in the second round? They faced the Philadelphia 76ers. They faced Joel Embiid in his prime. They faced Jimmy Butler in his prime. They faced Ben Simmons in his prime. They faced JJ Redick and Tobias Harris. They were so good they let Jimmy Butler walk. Now we're talking about what's LeBron going to do. Yo, I tell you, I bet you in this debate you didn't look up Kawhi Leonard's stats against LeBron James. He did nasty work on LeBron James. You remember the 2014 finals? The same shit's about to happen, except this time Kawhi was on an even better team, a deeper team.
John D, take it away.
Okay, so I love the fact that you brought up the bubble, because in the end of the day, the Lakers were the one who were robbed out of the bubble. They finished the season 52-19 and would have been the first seed if the bubble would have never happened. They would have had home court advantage. And when we talk about the teams that they played in the bubble, the Blazers were number 3 in offense. The Rockets were number 6 in offense. The Nuggets were number 5 in offense. These are premier offenses that the Lakers are going against. And we're talking about the Philadelphia 76ers, Joel Embiid being in his prime. He averaged 17 points on under 35% shooting from the field in that series. And they still went to 7 games. 4 games of that series, Joel Embiid shot under 30% in that series, and it still went 7 games. The Toronto Raptors had a very good playoff run. Don't get me wrong, but it took some type of something in their favor for them to win it all, and that was KD being hurt. And what happened when KD played against the Raptors in that one game? He shot 3 for 3 from 3 and 3 for 5 from the field, having 11 points in about 12 minutes. He was cooking the Raptors the second he stepped on the floor. I really don't understand how the Raptors can walk away in a series like this, because you don't want Marc Gasol guarding AD, especially not out on the perimeter. You don't want Serge Ibaka doing it out on the perimeter, and you're praying Pascal Siakam doesn't get switched on him. I don't understand how the Raptors are going to guard this team. I really don't. Some of the best basketball minds that we've seen in this generation, with Rajon Rondo and LeBron James going up against this Raptors team, I would say 5 or 6.
We have one more round. Pin, round 3. Talk to us.
Now I know what John D stands for. It stands for deep fried, because you just deep fried yourself, son. You just talked about Joel Embiid's 17 points per game. 17 points per game, my dude. There's a reason he averaged 17 points per game. It's called locked up. Akon reference again. Marc Gasol, did you watch that series? I bet you didn't. But if you did, you saw Marc Gasol playing Hall of Fame defense. They don't win that championship without Marc Gasol. But let's talk about what it really means to be a champion. It means defending that championship. It doesn't mean just winning in the bubble. I'll tell you right now, that Lakers championship is the least impressive championship in LeBron's entire career. Okay. I don't care who you are. You're ranking at Cleveland won number 1, but you had a chance, right? The next year to follow that championship up with the defense. And what did you do? You got swept in the first round by the Phoenix Suns in the next round. Okay. The next year. But what did the Raptors do? They lost Danny Green. They lost Kawhi Leonard, the finals MVP. And they followed that 56-win season up by being on pace for 60 wins the next year. That is a testament to how damn good that team is, because that team was built on defense. It was not built on la la land. It was not built on LeBron bailing them out. It was not built on 1 or 2 players. It was built on a team. And that team, by the way, went through Giannis Antetokounmpo and built a wall on him. They went through the Dynasty Warriors. And you can talk about Kevin Durant all you want, but let me not talk about all the teams they had to face to get to that point. I think they would have beat the Warriors anyway.
John D, it is round 3. Talk to us.
Okay, so the very next year, the Los Angeles Lakers were riddled with a lot of injuries before the playoffs even started. Before AD went down with his first injury that season, the Los Angeles Lakers were 22-7. 22-7. Now, I don't know how that really translates into an 82-game season, but I know that's good enough to be top in the Western Conference. The Lakers were up 2-0 before AD went down. They lost 4-2 in that first round series against the Suns. And when we talk about who's going up against each other in a 7-game series, we're talking about LeBron James, one of the greatest playoff performers that we have ever seen, with Anthony Davis in a 9-man rotation of Marquise Morris. What are they going to do when he's stretching the floor? Kyle Kuzma, what are they going to do when he's stretching the floor? Avery Bradley, great defender. Alex Caruso, great defender. Danny Green, KCP, these are great defenders. We have somebody to throw at anybody. Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee. These guys are going to come out and play 100% every single game. I do not know how the Raptors can win this series. We've seen LeBron James beat better with worse. We've seen it all the time. And even if we talk about the Miami Heat, who were a 7 seed, they were a 6 seed, and they were still top 10 in offense. They have played elite talent throughout every single round. At first, it was Damian Lillard, who just dropped 60 in that bubble. James Harden, the Nuggets with Nikola Jokic right before he won his MVP season, and Jamal Murray, who was also playing extremely well with the Heat, who are on a crazy run. I think the Los Angeles Lakers do not get enough credit for what they did in the 2020 bubble.
All right, there you have it. That is our first topic. Y'all both made great cases. Y'all was going back and forth. I don't know who won this. Usually in my mind, I'm like, okay, this guy might have won, or this guy definitely smacked him. This is a good one, y'all. Poll, is up, and I need you guys to go vote so we can get down to the bottom of who you guys, all 200 or 330 of you live, believe won this first topic. The 2019 Raptors versus the 2020 Lakers. All right, the poll is up. Y'all go vote and talk to us. And while you're at it, do not forget to like the video. And while you're at it, do not forget to subscribe. And while you're at that, just go ahead and become a member. Be a Hall of Famer like Dorian Clayton, Cobra Son of Raditz, Multi Kinney, and Kendall Daniels. We got about 35 more seconds, so get over there and vote. While you're doing that, our next topic for this highly requested matchup between Penn and John D is the Showtime Lakers versus the 2020s Spurs.
2020s?
2000 Spurs.
2000s. Which dynasty was more impressive? Showtime Lakers or 20 Spurs? 2000 Spurs. All right, we got about 5 more seconds. You guys talk to us. Talk to us. Get the votes in. Talk to us. And as of right now, it looks like John D cleaned up 55% of the votes for this first topic, and he gets the win on the live poll. But as you guys know, that's not the end-all be-all. Make sure you get your votes in if you're watching later. Let's get into topic 2. Penn, you started topic 1. So, John D, you will start round 1 for topic 2. Go ahead and do your thing.
Appreciate that, Ron. Now, when I look at the 2000 Spurs, the one thing that I really appreciate is consistency and the unselfish basketball that was around this team. And when we look at the 2000 Spurs, even now, the San Antonio Spurs have the most wins since 2000 by a wide margin, even with their 5 past seasons having under 35 wins. So when we talk about from 2000 to 2014, dominating the entire league, they are a team with 3 different championships in 3 different generations, late 90s, all through 2000s, and mid 2010s. The San Antonio Spurs have been able to accumulate talent throughout that entire run, drafting guys like Tony Parker late in the first round, Manu Ginobili late in the draft period, and then we have guys like Kawhi Leonard who are just outside the lottery. And when we talk about defense, the San Antonio Spurs have had some of the greatest defense we have ever seen throughout the entire 2000s, from 2000 to 2009. Number 2 in defensive rating, number 3, number 4, number 5. They never fell out of the top 5 in their entire championship run when it comes to defense. That's why they were able to beat teams like the Kobe Shaq Lakers, the best offense in the league, the Phoenix Suns, the Dirk-led Dallas Mavericks. It's happened multiple times why they were able to beat a Cleveland Cavaliers LeBron James team. And we don't talk about that as much because we already know that LeBron has not had as much talent, but we know that the San Antonio Spurs have a talented, great dynasty, and I think it's more impressive than the Lakers.
Ben, you're up next.
I thought we were talking about dynasties. 5 championships in 17 years is not a dynasty. When you think of the greatest franchises in the NBA, who do you think of? Today, with the benefit of hindsight, you think about Boston and Los Angeles. But if you would ask Magic Johnson when he was drafted, best franchise in NBA history, that was the Boston Celtics, clear. But you didn't know that prior to the 80s, it was just the Celtics. Indeed, 11 of the 18 championship banners in Boston came during Bill Russell's era. From 1959 through 1969, they added their 12th in 1974, their 13th in 1976. That means the Showtime Lakers have as many championships as the Celtics have won in the last 47 years. Okay? From 1980 to 1991, the Lakers made the finals 9 times and won 5 championships. I need you to understand the level of domination because their 115.6 offensive rating, okay, literally held up for 30 years as the greatest offensive rating of all time. Give this video a like if you actually watch them play, because I think a lot of people in your chat are a little too young to have watched them play. But I know you heard about them. I know you heard about all those players. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the greatest scorer, the greatest post scorer in NBA history. James Worthy, Michael Cooper, AC Green. I know you've heard the names, but it's been almost 40 years. Are you going to have heard of every one of those Spurs outside of those top 3 guys? 50 years from now, 40 years from now, the Lakers literally changed basketball. We need to talk about context when it comes to dynasties.
John D, it's your turn to talk about context. Round 2.
Appreciate that, Ron. Now, when we look at the Spurs, right, they have been able to constantly bring in talent. They have been able to be some of the greatest teams we've seen in one of the greatest eras we've seen. I don't know if I can say that about the Showtime Lakers. I mean, steady going back and not really showing any adversity getting to those rings. I mean, you have the Larry Bird Celtics, but I really don't see anybody else outside of that. From a talent standpoint, the Lakers were a dominant team. They were head and shoulders almost above everyone else. I don't think the Spurs felt that way. In 2014, they faced a lot of adversity by almost giving up in 2013. And in 2005, when they beat the greatest defense to ever play, and they were the greatest defense to ever play. They have so much to talk about when it comes to bringing in more talent in Kawhi Leonard and Tony Parker. These guys, Greg Popovich being the greatest coach to ever play. Tony Parker coming in and taking the number 1 spot. There are so many things to talk about when it comes to the San Antonio Spurs team that I really like from this standpoint. They beat the Pistons, Suns, Melo's Nuggets, the Dirk Nowitzki-led Mavs, Shaq and Kobe's Lakers. There was teams that were stacked just as much as the San Antonio Spurs, and they still came out and beat them and were better teams. We'll let it go.
All right, that's that. It's back on you, Penn, and your time will start when you do.
What? Okay, I'm so glad that you were the one to bring up who they faced. So let's talk about who they actually faced. Who did the Lakers actually win against? Let's see. They beat Moses Malone and Dr. J. I know y'all heard of those names, even though it's been damn near 50 years. They beat Larry Bird. Y'all remember the Larry Bird teams, how stacked they were? Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale. Y'all remember Danny Ainge? You remember how stacked those teams were? They beat those teams. They also beat the bad boy Pistons, which are the real best defensive team of all time, if you want my opinion. So you saying they didn't go up against anyone is absolutely crazy, criminal, and insane. Now, who did the Spurs beat? Well, let's see. They beat the 8th seed Knicks. Now, I'm a New York kid, so I appreciate rooting for that team, but ain't nobody in the world thought that the Knicks without Patrick Ewing were a real shot at the contention. They defended that championship, by the way, that lockout shortened championship, by losing in the first round again to Phoenix. Then they spent the next 2 years not making the finals, getting bounced by Shaq and Kobe and the Lakers. They got swept in 2001 and lost 4-1 in the 2002. That's a dynasty to you? That's crazy to me. Okay. The Lakers made the finals 9 times. That's a real dynasty. Dynasties are built on continual success and domination. They are not built on 1 year we're in, next year we get bounced, next year we're in, 5 years we don't win a championship. I don't know what. This is not even a debate.
Round 3. You got it.
One of the best parts about the San Antonio Spurs is they have one of the greatest stories of all time when it comes to losing in the fashion that they did back in 2013 and then winning it all the very next year in 2014. I mean, we all watched the 2013 NBA Finals when it looked like they were about to win and Heat fans were leaving the arena. The Heat end up forcing it to overtime, and then they win in overtime. And then the San Antonio Spurs just knew they were losing in Game 7. I mean, Greg Popovich, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, these guys have all said that they considered retiring after a loss like that, and they all saddled up and won the very next year, showing the greatest display of team basketball that we have ever seen, giving up 120 points per 100 possessions in that stretch. Guys like LeBron, guys like Chris Bosh, guys like D Wade, they all said that this is some of the greatest basketball they have ever seen. And that is a testament to their consistency from winning from 2000 to 2014. Once again, they still have the highest wins in the 2000 era in NBA history while still having their last 5 seasons being under 35 wins. They still comfortably have the most wins since 2000. There's not a team that has more consistency than the San Antonio Spurs, while constantly being able to bring in talent, constantly being able to develop talent, and constantly being able to win. I think the San Antonio Spurs are proof that consistency wins championships, and it makes you all-time great teams.
All right, Penn, it's your 3rd round on this topic. Talk to us.
How you talking consistency if you do the math on this? And we got to talk about impact first, then we'll get to the math, because I don't want to talk about basketball. Your chat doesn't like basketball. Let's just talk impact and narratives. The NBA was going broke. The league was quote unquote too black, according to white media. And the Boston Celtics were America's sweethearts, the darlings. Ask your grandfather, ask your father what it meant to beat them, what it meant to be Showtime. We are talking about the beautiful game Spurs that everyone wants to talk about. By the way, check the record. Who's narrating the opening on the beautiful game Spurs? It's Magic Johnson. He's talking about how they're the first team to play like us. You got to give the original some credit. Okay, so let's do some math here. Your so-called dynasty won 5 championships in 17 years. That doesn't sound like consistency. During that time, they lost in the first round 4 times. Not very consistent, if you ask me. And oh, by the way, they sucked for ratings. Just give me context here. The first time the Spurs made the finals in 1999 against the media darling that was the New York Knicks, the finals ratings literally halved from the year before. The 2003 Spurs Nets finals and the 2007 Cavs LeBron breaking through versus the Spurs finals were 2 of the least watched finals in modern NBA history. So when I talk impact, I talk Celtics, I talk Lakers, I talk Showtime. You got 9 seconds to spare. Go touch grass.
We are about to run the polls right now for the second topic of this highly anticipated debate. Which dynasty was more impressive, the Showtime Lakers or the 2000 Spurs? You guys heard the great arguments from both of these guys. So take all of that into account and go and vote on who made the better argument. Not who you like better or not which team you like more. Who actually made the better debating points? The poll is up right now. Get over there and go vote. And like the video.
Yo, John D, respect to you, man.
Respect, man.
Yeah, you're doing a great job.
Appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
They don't told me I didn't have any Riz. I got 0 Riz, so I had to come out with a little bit of Riz. Let the chat know. Apparently, Lo made a video about me, according to someone. So hope this.
Yeah, at first, I didn't know you by name, and then I was on the show, and Chill was describing you. I knew instantly. I'm like, oh, okay, I know who I'm going against. I just thought it was funny. 100%.
Did for what it's worth, I think you got a little bit of Riz. I think the chat's hating personally.
All right.
That's why Chill always has to tell the chat to eat it. And then y'all know what comes next. All right, 15 more seconds left to go. You guys, make sure that you go vote. Get the votes in. Here we go. 5, 4, 3. All right. The live votes are concluding right now, and it looks like Penn took a lion's share with 66% of the votes. So, Penn, according to the chat, you won the second round of this debate. Remember, get in and vote after this video is not live if you are watching after August 4th. All right, y'all. We got round 3 to get into, or topic 3 to get into. And this last topic is going to be a fun one. It's going to be an entertaining one. We got 2011 Derrick Rose versus 2017 Russell Westbrook, who indeed had the greater MVP season. Let's get into it. Penn, it's back on you to go first. Your time starts whenever you do, my friend.
All right, let's go. Russell Westbrook finished top 5 in MVP voting 4 years between 2014 and 2018. He just happened to win once. The media does not like Russell Westbrook. The media loves Derrick Rose. You know how I know that? Because Derrick Rose got MVP votes in 2021. That's how I know that. Okay, let's talk about the numbers that y'all know. 31.6 points versus 25, Russell clears. 10.7 rebounds versus 4.1, Russell clears. 10.4 assists versus 7.7, Russell clears. Y'all call Russell Westbrook a non-shooter? He shot better from the 3-point percentage than Derrick Rose too. 11.1 box plus minus to 6.8. And I'd be remiss if I did not mention 9.3 VORP. Okay, now 8.0 is what Basketball Reference describes as a GOAT season, like a Hall of Fame season. Now, this is something that's going to blow your mind. Do you know how many times LeBron James cleared Derrick Rose's 6.6 box plus minus? literally every year of his career, except for his rookie season and his last 2 Lakers seasons. You know how many times he cleared Russell Westbrook's 11.1? 3 times. 2010, 2011, and 2013, if I'm not mistaken. Do you know how many times Michael Jordan cleared? Every single time Michael Jordan played basketball, he cleared he cleared Derrick Rose, except for 3 seasons, two seasons with the Wizards and the baseball season. He only cleared Westbrook 5 times.
John D, round 1. You got it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Derrick Rose is the youngest MVP that the NBA has ever seen, averaging 25 points, 7 assists, and 4 rebounds. And this is something that I want to make very important in this argument because Russell Westbrook, Derrick Rose was in his 3rd season in the NBA. And let's talk about some point guards who later won MVP. Steph Curry was in his 6th season. Russell Westbrook was in his 9th season. James Harden was in his 9th season. We are talking about 3rd year Derrick Rose. 3rd year. So when we look at point guards and players today, how long does it usually take for them to reach their peak? How long does it usually take? From about 5 to 6 or 7 years, depending on the player. But we all know Derrick Rose, barring injury, was not at his peak of basketball. There was a lot of getting better for Derrick Rose to do. Mind you, he led that Chicago Bulls team to being a 62-win team with Carlos Boozer playing 48 games and Joakim Noah playing 53 games. Guys like Keith Bogans were getting regular minutes for the Chicago Bulls that season, and Derrick Rose, as an offensive engine in his 3rd season, still brought them to 62 wins over teams like the Heat, the Celtics, and the Magic, all in that season. Derrick Rose was an elite offensive engine. He was elite getting downhill, and he did not have an answer for him. There was not an answer for Derrick Rose. There was not an answer for Derrick Rose in that season, especially with the injuries that were next to him and leading that team to 62 wins. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. I think Derrick Rose impacted winning more than Russell Westbrook did in his MVP season.
There you have it. The first rounds are in. Penn, it's back on you. Go ahead.
And I like Derrick Rose a lot more than I like Russell Westbrook, but even I'm not crazy enough to try to make this debate. Now, you said impacted winning more. Mathematically, that is untrue. 13.1 win shares each. So they both had that, even though Russell was the better player. Now, you mentioned that he had inferior teammates that he carried and, Carlos Boozer and all that stuff. Here's some fast math for you. Joakim Noah was a 2-time All-Star. He made 3 all-defensive teams. Luol Deng was a 2-time All-Star. He made 1 all-defensive team. Boozer, who you're slandering here, playing 48 games, he was a 2-time All-Star, and he made an All-NBA team too, might I add. Do you know that those 3 guys are the leading win share getters on the Bulls after Derrick Rose? Here are the 3 win share getters on the OKC Thunder after Russell Westbrook. Steven Adams, who's never made an All-NBA team, never made an All-Defense. He's made 3. He's made no All-Defensive teams, no All-Star teams, no All-NBA. Enes Kanter, never been an All-Star, never been All-NBA. Andre Robertson, never been All-Star or All-NBA. What are we talking about? Russ carried. He carried one of the worst rosters in the league. Without him, they might have won 15 games if they were lucky. And I don't even want to hear about Victor Oladipo because he was so moved. He wasn't that great for the OKC Thunder, but the next year he went on to became All-NBA and All-Star. And you know who he credited for inspiring all that work? Watching Russell Westbrook.
John D, round 2. Talk to us.
Ladies and gentlemen, Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double in his MVP season. Now, that's easy. That's easy to tell. Only player or second player to ever do it. Most triple-doubles in a single season, second player to average a triple-double. But when we look at the numbers of Russell Westbrook's triple-double, 80% of his rebounds were uncontested. 90% of every possession he had the ball. And when we talk about Russell Westbrook, his MVPs don't get brought up as much anymore because he averaged triple doubles 3 out of the 4 next seasons and didn't get out of the first round once. So how much winning does Russell Westbrook really have if he can't get out of the first round? Every time he was the guy on every team he was on and averaged a triple double, they couldn't eclipse 50 wins or get out of the first round. And they brought in a top 15 player in Paul George. What player did Derrick Rose have in his MVP season like that to bring in some type of winning? I'm really confused on how Derrick Rose can impact winning because we've seen players like Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic have triple doubles at the rate of Russell Westbrook, and they were able to take their team to the finals. They were able to win an NBA championship. But in That same season, Russell Westbrook averaged triple doubles and it amounted to nothing. It was empty stats. He might as well have played on the Wizards. Because they got smoked out in the first round. I just think Derrick Rose's MVP season was phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to winning and how much he impacted winning, in my opinion, I don't feel as though he did.
All right, Penn, round 3. Go ahead.
I love the story of Derrick Rose, hometown kid, good kid, wins an MVP, youngest MVP ever. But this is not the debate of who was younger. I don't know why you're bringing up Paul George, because he wasn't on the team we're talking about. He wasn't there that year, okay? You're talking about empty calories, empty stats, nothing, okay? We are talking about a media darling versus a media pariah. We're talking about a guy that the media hated every year. Russell Westbrook was in contention. I want you to understand how good a guy had to be hated as much as he was and still beat out the following players. This is who he beat out for MVP, just to put y'all on game. He had to beat out peak James Harden, peak Spurs Kawhi Leonard, peak LeBron, peak Steph, God mode Isaiah Thomas, Anthony Davis, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant, and John Wall. They hated him, and they still had to give him his flowers for what he was doing. Because what this man was doing, don't talk to me about empty stats. It takes motor. It takes energy. It takes peak conditioning, frankly, to be that good on so many levels and do that much for your team. Talk about uncontested rebounds. Yeah, there's a reason he was running those rebounds. He was the best passer on the team, and he initiated the fast break. That's why he got all those rebounds. But I'm glad you brought up D Rose. You know who was second place the year D Rose won it? Dwight freaking Howard. Russell Westbrook clears in a better conference during a better era, better competition.
John D, it is round 3.
All right. So once again, I'm going to talk about Russell Westbrook and his 62-win season without Carlos Boozer once again. And we're talking about Carlos Boozer being an All-NBA and an All-Star. He was not an All-NBA player or an All-Star with the Chicago Bulls. He just was not. And if you ask me, while I was watching as a kid, it looked like Taj Gibson was better than him in that tenure. I think once again, Derrick Rose was carrying just as bad as a team while they were hurt as Russell Westbrook was, with no Joakim Noah or nor Carlos Boozer. It was Luol Deng and Keith Bogans. And I think Ronnie Brewer was on that team as well. I don't necessarily remember. I think Derrick Rose at his third season, still very young, averaging 25, 7 and 4. The year before that, they went 41 and 41. They jumped up 21 wins. He wasn't expected to win an MVP at all. And he came in and he erased all of that talk while averaging 25, 7 and 4. I think his season going all the way to the conference finals, being an offensive engine in his third season, might I add, yes, yet again, he just had a better season than Russell Westbrook, in my opinion. The playoffs, the regular season, carrying a bad team, just like Russell Westbrook did when Joakim Noah and Carlos Boozer were out. I think Derrick Rose does not get as much credit as Russell Westbrook got, and I think he should have. I definitely think Derrick Rose should have.
All right, that is that. We got 3 good topics, 3 rounds with each topic, but now we need you guys to vote on this last one. 1:30 is up. You guys go over there and let us know who you believe made the better case between 2011 MVP Derrick Rose and 2017 MVP Russell Westbrook. These guys both gave you good points. They made good cases. They gave you numbers. They gave you analytics. They gave you their heart and their soul in this battle. And all we need for you guys to do is vote on who you believe was simply better.
Hey, much respect, Penn. Much respect.
Much respect to you too, sir. You did a great job. You've absolutely, I think you cleared a lot of people that I've watched so far. I think, yeah, for sure. I think you would beat a lot of people. You gave me. I'm glad I came prepared, bro. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I put in a couple hours to really refresh my numbers on this, for sure.
Appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
All right, y'all. We got about 30 more seconds for you guys to go ahead and vote on these 2 for round 3. The live vote had John D winning the first one. Then the live vote had Penn winning the second topic. So now we're going to see what's the word for the third topic. And to let you guys know, we will be back again on Wednesday August 7th. Y'all be sure to pull up. We got a few good matchups, and I'll talk about them here in a second. But keep in mind, the PCL is every Wednesday you will get 3 matchups. And then every Sunday you will get 3 matchups as well. All right, here we go. The votes are in. And it looks like Penn, you took 64% of the votes. Congratulations to you for winning the live vote, which isn't the end all be all. As I continue to tell you guys, you get a chance to vote after the video, and those votes will be tallied up at the end of week 4. And the winner of that will determine who's the winner of this match. Fellas, any last words on the way out?
I appreciate the opportunity. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all next week.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Penn?
Today is my mother's birthday. My mom passed away in 2019. So I don't know. Something about me. I just said I can't lose on this day. So John D, big respects to you, sir. I know I went a little bit personal with what D represents and all that stuff. Stupid,
No big deal, bro. No big
but,
deal.
You know, it's all love, and you did a great job, man.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Much respect.
Next week, both of you guys will be back. John D, you will be going against Gifted.
Okay.
And Penn, you get a chance to shine Swiper's eggnog.
It's going to be a Japanese yapathon. All right, let's go.
All right, well, fellas, I'll see you again next week. I'll be sending you guys your topics here very soon.
Appreciate that.
All right, appreciate you guys for coming through. Appreciate you for coming up. Hopefully, I get to catch you guys on the panel here very soon. You guys already know what time it is. We would catch you guys bright and early in the morning. Before I get out of here, let me grab this belt. Before I get out of here, I want to encourage everybody to like the video on the way out. And also, I'm going to give you next week's matchups. You guys heard me say a couple names, but I'm going to give you the for sure matchups for Wednesday. So on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, we'll get Hayes versus the favorite to win the whole thing, Dion from Ohio. And then after that at 8:15 p.m. Eastern time, we will get OGDABEAST versus Casual. Those are both going to be 2 good matchups. Y'all are saying that both of these guys beat Ox. So we'll see if one of these guys can beat the other person. We'll see how that goes. And last but not least, we got Chill versus possibly the best debater to ever touch the Player's Choice platform, Jack Cote. So Chill, you better be doing your homework. You better be studying. You better do what you can do and what it takes. Chill, you better just be doing some push-ups right now, because it's going to go down next week when Jack Cote comes to pack you up. Until then, I will catch you guys on PCL on Wednesday and tomorrow morning. Y'all be cool.